Could life get any better than this? I thought to myself, as I stretched out luxuriously on the king-size bed and glanced at the clock on the bedside table of the five-star hotel I was staying in. I yawned. It had been a long day thus far. Limo to the airport for a 7 a.m. flight to the state capitol. Another limo to Parliament House. Meeting of the shadow cabinet with hangers-on, whisked back to the hotel for a quick meal. Intimate with lover, shower again, intimate with lover again, nap, wake just in time to check in with husband and kids at home, a nightly routine I never missed while away on these trips every month. It was time for my loving wife act. Time to put my night clothes on and phone Dave at home and talk to him and perhaps the kids. When I started these trips 2 years prior, the novelty of my being away meant the kids normally joined in the Zoom call with my husband. But with them now being of ages liking their independence as well as the passage of time having bred contempt, I was unlikely to see them tonight. Shit. I'm being rude and haven't introduced myself, have I? My name is Camille Brown, wife of David Brown, mother of Dennis, 17 going on 70, and Jenny, an aloof 16-year-old. I married young and was a stay-at-home mom until Jenny started high school. Dave supported me doing a certificate IV in public relations, and soon after graduating, I jagged a job in the PR department of the local hospital. That's where I met Mike, rising star in local politics and a national Australian rules footballer in his heyday, a commentator of the game on national TV after his playing days were over, and owner of a used car business. 12 years ago, he'd stood for and won a seat in state parliament, and when his party also got the majority, he was made, no surprise, Minister of Sport. From there, he'd steadily progressed toward the top of the tree and was now deputy leader of his party and chief whip. He made the news and came to my attention after being shot coming out of a bar one night. No one was ever arrested for it, and the police remained clueless on who the perpetrator was. With Mike being a politician, having a bit of a reputation as a philanderer and a used car salesman, the joke at the time was that if the police had asked everyone with a grudge against him to step forward, the city would have been gridlocked for 2 days by the queue. He was in my hospital for 4 weeks, and I got to talk to the press on his status. To cut a long story short, he hired me into his campaign team, got me a senior staff position after that, and then bankrolled me into standing for a seat in the local parliament. I won the seat, but my party didn't win government, so I became a backbencher. That's where I am now, career-wise. Camille Brown MP, Special Assistant to the Deputy Opposition Leader and Chief Whip, a.k.a. Mike. That qualified me to attend shadow cabinet meetings, but to have to sit at the back during them. That reminded me. Sitting tomorrow would be a little uncomfortable. As soon as we'd entered the room after dinner, Mike had bent me over a chair, lifted my skirt, whipped my knickers down, pulled a tube of lube from his pocket, unzipped slathered lube on his less than impressive Johnson, and unceremoniously shoved it up my back. Oh, the things I do for ambition and his patronage. The clock ticked over to 9 a.m., and it was time for my act. Adjusting my pajamas to reveal a little cleavage, I hustled Mike off the bed, pointed to a chair near the desk, and told him to be quiet. He knew the drill. We'd done it often enough. If we'd had adjoining rooms, he would have gone back to his. But on this particular trip, we didn't, and we both thought it wise to minimize trips in the corridor between his room and mine. Before dawn, when there was unlikely to be anyone around, he'd sneak back along the corridor to his room. Laugh, if you like, but it was by covering every base that we'd successfully hidden our affair for 4 years. Opening my laptop, I hit the necessary keys to connect to home via Zoom. Dave appeared on the other end, sitting on the leather lounge in our rumpus room, part of the 8-bedroom mansion, befitting an MP married to a successful businessman. By the angle, I knew his laptop rested on his lap. Dave and I began chatting comfortably while Mike sat bored and naked, waiting for me to finish and round 3 to begin. So bored, in fact, that he began one of his puerile games. This one was called, "Let's try to distract Camille and make her laugh while she's on the phone with her loving husband, aka the unknowing cuckold." Trying to hide either a smile or a look of annoyance, I longed to be able to bark at him to stop it. In my peripheral vision, I saw Mike standing there with his erection in his hand while he mimed pushing me to the floor at his feet and holding the back of my head while he throat-ed me. Not that again. He bruised my mouth the last time he did that, and I spent half the night cleaning puke off the carpet. I must have drifted off for a second because the next thing I knew, Dave was saying rather insistently, Camille, can you please ask Mike to stop that?" It's demeaning and downright embarrassing to him. Talk about surreal. Mike froze in mid-pump and my mind went numb. Dave stayed quiet. "What are you talking about, Dave?" Then I remembered with relief. My husband had a mischievous sense of humor. He was always saying things like, "Put that man down and come out to lunch with me," when he rang me at the office. Today must have just been a lucky strike on his part. I decided to play along with it. "No, dear. I've sent Mike and all the other men back to their rooms. The orgy is over for the night." Dave didn't smile or laugh as I expected. Something was wrong. I decided to brazen my way through this and at the same time throw a little smokescreen. When I'd first started traveling with Mike, Dave had quaintly warned me that he had a reputation as a p***. Dave? Really? I think I could do a little better than Mike, don't you think? I know I'm not out of your league, but surely if I was going play around, I'd choose someone a little better than that old coot, wouldn't I? Mike pretended to look hurt and began miming slapping my face with his now only half-erect Johnson. Dave still wasn't smiling. He took a deep breath, appearing to come to a decision. I saw his arms extend to grab the laptop and swing it around until it was facing the huge TV screen on one wall of the rumpus room. What was on the screen staggered me. The screen was split into 2 views. One showed me lying on the bed. The other showed Mike in all his glory standing near the dressing table. I heard myself gasp and couldn't stop my eyes from darting to the smoke detector in the middle of the ceiling. Obviously, where the cameras were, that was my undoing. What the hell do you say in a situation like that? I stared at the screen and watched the on-screen Mike walk over to the bed. Staying out of the laptop camera's view, he leaned over to look at the screen from the side, gasped, and stood bolt upright again. He was as speechless as me. Dave wasn't, though. "Hi, Mike. I say, where is the other half of your Johnson?" Mike blushed deeply. Whether from being busted or through the insult to his manhood, I neither knew nor cared. I could just imagine the view Dave had of our 2 mouths, opening and closing, like guppy fish at feeding time. His next words were fairly incongruous, though. "Now do you believe me?" The screen on my laptop went through another vertigo, inducing traverse of the room at home. When it stopped, I had a view of only half of Dave sitting on the couch, but a full view of the 2 people sitting next to him. 2 words slipped through my befuddled brain to my lips. "Mom, Dad." My father, with a look of thunder on his face, was shaking his head from side to side as if in denial. My mother, always the expressive one, said in a voice I barely recognized, it was so croaky, "Oh, Camille, I thought we raised you better than that." She then burst into tears and leaped out of the field of view. Dad followed with a hissed. With the slam of a door, I deduced they'd left the room. It was well-known family lore that my parents' marriage was the second for both of them. They'd found each other after divorcing their exes for cheating. If my heart gave out, and it certainly felt like it might, it was racing so fast I would be lucky if they even deigned to pee on my grave. Looking away from the screen in sheer embarrassment, I glanced at Mike. He was still naked, bizarrely, and, knowing him as well as I did, I could see the thoughts crossing his face like an LED scrolling sign. Dave must have known before today to arrange cameras in the room. Camera footage could be recorded. Recordings such as those could damage a career, end a marriage, lose a guy his job. As I watched, a look of determination suffused Mike's face. He grabbed a pillow, used it to hide his shame, and came to sit on the bed beside me so he was finally visible on my laptop camera. He hissed, "Now listen, cucky boy, I'm sure you're way too smart to go tell anyone about this. One sniff of the party, the media, or my wife getting a hold of this, then your dinky little business is finished. You'll find all your current contracts drying up and good luck getting new ones." His voice abruptly stopped. A figure stepped into view behind the couch Dave was seated on. At first, all that could be seen was a torso. Who it was revealed when Dave's arms again reached for his laptop screen to tilt it backwards a little. There stood Mary, Mike's wife. You would have expected her to look livid, but instead, she sported a soft smile. Strangely, she didn't say a word, just tilted her head and looked around the room, obviously checking for witnesses. Presumably, spotting none, she leaned over Dave, her left hand grabbing his chest, while her right moved further down. It was off-screen, but I think she was caressing his package. Dave's eyes bugging out confirmed as much. By the look of him, Mary's move was unscripted and almost unwelcome. "Camille, old friend, I really wonder why you gave this up for the pathetic excuse for a pee-pee hidden behind that pillow. Shit. A face washer could do that job well enough." Then her expression became serious as she straightened up, her hands resting casually on Dave's shoulders. "Don't bother coming home anytime soon, dear. Your key no longer works for my house. If you need reminding what was in our prenup, well, you know who my lawyer is, just ask him." She was probably going to say more, but just then I heard a door and Jenny, my sweet, innocent Jenny, say off camera, "Dad, it's on next." The laptop screen view swung sickeningly again to show Jenny coming to a halt in front of the huge TV. With her was my son Dennis, pointing the remote at it. He was flicking through the TV channels. A news anchor appeared on the screen. Just to repeat tonight's top story, in a joint news conference this evening, the wife of the Labor Party chief whip, Mike Harding, and the husband of fellow MP Camille Brown have jointly sued for divorce from their spouses on the grounds of adultery. They have been allegedly conducting an affair when attending monthly shadow cabinet meetings here in the Capitol. Stuart Burns, the leader of the opposition, says their party memberships will be canceled immediately. "It's exactly the disgusting behavior our party is trying to stamp out," he released in a statement. The screen went blank as Dennis hit the remote before turning to the camera on Dave's laptop. "You did want to be famous, Mum. In case you're wondering, Dad asked us before telling the media. We said you deserved all you got." With that, he put his arm around his sobbing sister and walked her off camera. The screen turned back toward Dave and Mary again. He had a tear trickling down one cheek as well. If for no other reason than the tears in our children's eyes, I will never forgive you for this, Camille. Don't expect me to be generous in the divorce. I've had plenty of time to hide everything from you and your lawyer. As for you, shithead, you and I will have a date one night in a dark alley. Until then, kiss your balls goodnight every time you go to bed. They have an appointment with a rusty knife and a dumpster. For the final time, my husband's muscular arm reached out and the screen went blank. I was stunned. Mike recovered quicker than me, and man of action that he is, he threw on his pants and shirt, but didn't button it up. He strode to the door and reefed it open. He again froze as a barrage of flashbulbs lit off, and a dozen questions were hurled at him simultaneously. Stepping forward carried him through the door, which he slammed behind him. I looked down at my nightie, and visions of the next day's front pages flashed before my eyes. I could not think of a single pillar that was supporting my life 10 short minutes ago that was still standing. I remembered thinking later that I finally knew what rock bottom felt like. I was wrong, of course. My screen came to life again with an incoming Zoom call. The image was of a man sitting in a darkened room, at a desk with only a lamp for illumination. I recognized him immediately. I'd been elected on the Catholic vote, and our local bishop was good friends with Australia's cardinal, who had a holiday hideaway near our town. When the pressures of office got to him, he came here and attended our church. That same cardinal sat at the desk, red skull cap and sash in all their splendor. I remembered that adultery was mentioned in some stone tablets given to a guy called Moses a while back. Dave always joked that technically that made Moses the first person ever with a tablet downloading stuff from the cloud. My present circumstances made it impossible to smile at the joke the way I had in the past. I knew my political career was finished. While the leader of the party couldn't remove me from my seat, the voters could. What the Catholic vote giveth, the Catholic vote taketh away. I was struck dumb to be addressed by such a celebrity as this. He wasn't. Camille, my child, your husband has been telling me some very disturbing things about you. There will be someone here shortly who wants to talk to you. At that point, he looked sideways and shot to his feet with admirable speed for a man of his years. That took him out of camera view, but the microphone was working fine. The last thing I heard before I fell sideways off the bed and onto the floor was, "This is the woman I was telling you about, Your Eminence. Here endeth the lesson. Now lighten up." And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. It all started to fall apart when my 15-year-old daughter, Shelley, received one of those DNA kits for Christmas. I don't even remember who gave it to her. She was all excited as she carefully filled out all of the submission requirements and mailed it in. 6 weeks later, the results finally came back, and she was not happy. Donna and I quietly sat in the living room reading when our daughter decided to vocalize her discontent. We couldn't make out the actual words, but things were not going well. After 15 minutes or so, she stormed out of her room and announced that she was going over to her girlfriend's house. Donna reminded her to be home by supper time as she rushed out of the door. I sat there with an amused grin on my face and noticed that Donna seemed a bit more concerned. We both just shrugged and went on with our reading. Donna and I got married 18 years ago, right after I finished my residency. After 5 years, I was considered the leading gallbladder surgeon in the Tri-County area. I had all the work I could handle, and life was good. And then it all went to hell. We were attending a social affair sponsored by Donna's company, Gilbert Enterprises, when I had some type of seizure, which left me with some Parkinson-like neurological tics. It wasn't Parkinson's, but it appeared to be similar. I had a constant tic in my right eye, and my lower right arm would twitch sporadically at inopportune moments. They never did figure out exactly what it was, and for some reason, I was so glad that I was just still functional at all that I didn't pursue it any further. My days as a surgeon were over, however, so I found a new position as a radiologist. 9 months later, Shelley was born. Things seemed to move along as well as could be expected. I was not happy with my new affliction, but I was still fully functioning in most areas. I did very well in my new medical position, and the compensation was still quite adequate. My home life and my intimate life did not suffer. In fact, Donna seemed to be a bit more accommodating. She turned into a sort of Stepford wife. I figured that she felt a bit guilty because I had my seizure while we were at one of her company functions. In any event, I was enjoying her extra attention, so I didn't complain. I truly loved the woman. We lived that way for 15 years. Donna, any ideas why Shelley got so upset about the ancestry thing? I have no clue. I do think that it is best if we just let it slide. I am sure that she will get over it in a few days, no matter what it is. Something about the way that she said that did not sit right with me. I got the feeling that she was trying to divert me away from it without looking obvious. I just smiled and nodded my head. I didn't get much reading done the rest of the evening, but I did a hell of a lot of thinking. I tried to relate Shelley's attitude with anything else that might be going on, but nothing popped up. Other than the normal squabbles that all families have, we were in good shape. No money difficulties, no problems in the bedroom, and definitely nothing that could relate to our daughter. I had to get a look at that DNA report. Donna left for work at Gilbert, and Shelley went to school. I stayed home. I found what I was looking for in her study desk drawer. Donna's family is mostly Irish, and mine is mostly Scottish with a bit of German tossed in. It seemed that Shelley was 48% Eastern European. I had to laugh a little at the poor quality of the report. As I read further, I noted that there was a list of close matches. Of course, Donna's name was right up top, but my name was nowhere on the list. There were also a few names of relatives from Donna's side of the family, but none of mine. I guessed that the only people that would show up on the list were people who had actually had their DNA documented. Donna, Shelley, and I had ours done 5 years ago as part of an annual physical. Mine should have been on there if Donna's was. I was starting to get concerned, and then I noted a strange name high up on the list. Teresa Haugen was a 46% match. Who the hell was Teresa Haugen? Dr. McCall, this is John Terrell. Yes, John. Good to hear from you. Is everything okay? Yeah, no problems. I still have that damn twitch and the eye tick, but other than that, I am fine. However, I have a small question. A few years ago, you took DNA samples from all of us for our medical records. Could you check something for me? What do you need? I am trying to figure out if there are any glitches in the DNA results between Shelley and myself. Glitches? What do you mean by glitches? Look, doctor, this is embarrassing, but I am trying to find out if Shelley is my biological daughter or not. I don't want to stir up any trouble, I just need to know. Oh, Pardon my French, John. You know you have access to all those files. You could check it yourself. I know, but I would prefer if you did it. Let me pull up the files and I will get back to you, okay? Give me an hour. Thanks, doctor. I really do appreciate it. I think that Donna could tell that I was troubled. Dr. McCall verified that I was not Shelley's father. I did not tell Donna. For the last 3 days, I have been trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was surprisingly calm about the whole situation, and I was able to think about it without blowing my cool. It took me several days to locate Teresa Haugen. For some reason, I assumed that she would be about Shelley's age, and I felt like I was a stalking pedophile. I finally found her in the white pages under a listing for Malcolm Haugen. Malcolm was my age and lived in Westchester. I assumed that she was his daughter. Malcolm agreed to meet me Saturday morning at a Denny's in Exton. I'm not sure that he knew who I was, but I detected a bit of apprehension in his voice. He was early. I was on time. We exchanged formalities. Malcolm, I don't remember ever meeting you before. Have you ever lived in Reading? That brought a slight grimace to his face. He squirmed in his chair a bit as if trying to get comfortable. I worked for Gilbert Enterprises about 15 years ago or so. I believe we met at one of the company functions back then. I left Reading right after that. He seemed relieved to have said it, but still a bit uncomfortable. I take it that you knew my wife, Donna? It was a question phrased as a comment. He didn't answer, he just nodded. Do you know why I am here? Not exactly, but I have a good idea. The few moments of silence were stressful. What took you so long? I just found out. More silence. He let out a deep sigh. I was young. I had been drinking too much, and I was caught up in the moment. I know that that was no excuse, and I know it was wrong. I think I caved into the peer pressure more than anything else. Donna, your wife, was one of the most fascinating women I had ever met. I knew she was married, but nobody seemed to care at the moment. Who was nobody? He was still squirming a bit. The three of us were from the engineering department, Freddie Springer, Clayton Mankey, and I. Donna was being extra friendly with all of us, and we were having a great time. There were a lot of innuendos going around, and some of them were getting serious. Did anybody think about me at all? Donna was constantly looking around to make sure you were not near us. If I remember correctly, you were hanging around with some of the older guys talking about golf. How did this all go off the rails? Freddie was trying to talk Donna into talking some ecstasy. She kept saying no. He was pretty persistent. That was when everything turned to What does that mean? We were all drunk and we were all horny, including Donna. Freddie asked her one more time and she sighed and said, "Don't drug me, you idiots. Go drug my husband." After another long pause, I looked at him. "Say that again." She said, "Don't drug me, you idiots. Go drug my husband." That simple phrase has haunted me for the last 15 years or so. It was so cold and so calculating that I couldn't believe it. "What happened next?" I asked. "A few minutes later, Freddie took you a drink. You fell asleep on one of the lounge chairs and we all went upstairs. It was when we came downstairs an hour later that we found out what happened to you." "What do you mean?" I asked. "It seemed that you had a bad reaction to the drug Freddie gave you and they had to rush you to the hospital. Donna didn't even know about it until after you were gone." I didn't say anything. First thing Monday morning, I quit Gilbert's and moved back home to Westchester. I got a new job, got married, and now have 3 kids. I have never been back to Reading. I never saw Donna again. I have always regretted what happened, and I am truly sorrowful. I don't know what else I can say or do. I had the waitress bring us a full pot of coffee. "Malcolm, have you ever had one of those ancestry tests done?" "No, but my daughter Teresa did a few years ago." "Anybody else in the family?" "No, just her. She got it as a present." "Why do you ask?" "Your daughter Teresa and my daughter Shelley are half-sisters." I watched as Malcolm sat still, not breathing. He finally blinked his eyes and let out a big sigh. I watched him for a few moments until he got some tears in his eyes. His head was slowly shaking from side to side. "Are you okay?" "No, I'm not. The worst night of my life just got worse. I can't believe this is happening. This is going to ruin me and my family. I tried so hard to not let anything like that happen again, and then this one comes back and bites me in the back. How much worse can it get?" We sat quietly for several minutes. "Malcolm, what happened to the other 2 guys?" "Freddie got killed in a crash on the Schuylkill Expressway. Clayton is an alcoholic and lives in a church rectory in Fishtown. I haven't seen him in years." "Malcolm, I want to thank you for your time and your honesty. I am not looking for anything else, and I have no desire whatsoever for revenge or retribution. You can relax. I won't be coming after you or exposing you." "That is good to hear. But there is another problem here. What about or should I say, my daughter? What if she figures things out and wants to have contact with me? What am I supposed to do? I don't want to hurt or embarrass anybody. Any suggestions?" "I'll help you any way that I can. I won't initiate anything, but if it comes up, I will be on your side whatever happens. I am not a vindictive man. I am not happy with what happened, but I am not going to ruin my life dwelling on it. Just in case, you might want to prepare your wife so that you don't get caught flat-footed." My everyday life became miserable. Every time my arm twitched or my eye blinked, I was reminded of my wife's treachery. Every time she was overly nice or accommodating, I cringed. Like Malcolm, she carried the guilt with her for 15 years. For all those 15 years, I loved her because of what I perceived to be her devotion. Now I know that it was not devotion, but guilt. I felt that I could forgive Malcolm, but not Donna. My love for my wife was dying little by little every day. It was starting to eat me up. I had to do something before it was too late. Finally, I did something. "Hi, my name is Lena. Lena Durante. Welcome to Hospital de Santa Marta. You must be John Terrell." I had been in Porto for a week, but this was my first visit to the hospital cafeteria. I made a clumsy attempt to stand up and held out my hand to greet my unexpected guest. This caused her to giggle a bit. "May I join you?" I just nodded as she sat. She wasn't what I would call beautiful, but she was damn attractive for a middle-aged woman. "So you are the new reader? Glad to see you as part of the team. Have you gotten settled in?" She was obviously a local, but spoke perfect English, as did most of the staff. "Yes, everything is coming along fine. I got a furnished condo within walking distance of the hospital. All I have to do now is find a few good places to eat close by." "Oh, good. I can help you with that. I am an expert at finding places to eat." She did a great job of breaking the ice. "What department do you work in, Lena?" "I am a neurosurgeon. I am sure that we will be working together regularly. I understand that you have much experience." "Pretty much across the board. I will be reading all the X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, mammograms, and ultrasounds, as well as tea leaves on occasion." That got me a small laugh. "Have you always done that?" "No. I am sure that you have noticed my eye tick and the twitch in my right hand. Before my affliction, I did laparoscopic gallbladder surgery. Switching over to radiology allowed me to continue working. I feel that I am still able to contribute." "What exactly was the affliction?" "You know, I never really did find out. There was a lot of discussion and a lot of conjecture, but never anything definite. I felt that everybody was being evasive. I tried pinning it down a few times and got frustrated, so I just quit. Enough chit-chat. I have to get back to work. I get off at 6. I'll pick you up here and we will explore your first dining experience. You're working straight days, right?" I smiled and nodded. Lena Durante was unmarried. I didn't ask why or explore the subject further. After a month, I was comfortable enough with her to explain my marital status. The fact that I was still married did not seem to bother her. 2 weeks later, she started staying overnight at my condo. Life was good. I had no contact with my wife or my daughter. My relationship with Donna got cooler and cooler before I left, although she kept trying to keep it together. The problem was all on my side. She tried to get me to explain what was wrong, and I never did. Shelley became completely withdrawn. I tried to keep that relationship going, but she killed it. It got to the point where we barely talked at all. She never explained what her displeasure with me was. I didn't ask, but I think it was pretty obvious that it was connected to that damn DNA test. I didn't tell Donna that I was leaving. I simply left her a power of attorney to sell the house and took half of our savings. She had a good job and would have no problem supporting herself and Shelley. I am sure that she would end up selling the house. I also left my wedding ring. Let her figure it out. Donna never tried to find me or contact me. If she did know where I was not aware of it. "John, I set aside a time slot to see you at 9 a.m. Friday in my clinic. It's a routine thing, so don't get too excited about it." Lena was trying to be casual. "That doesn't make sense, and you know it. What is going on?" "It's the eye tick thing, John. I just want to check it out a bit." "Don't you think that you should get an ophthalmologist?" "Dr. Perez will be there. He is the best we have. We are not going to do anything. Just look around." "Lena, I don't trust you. I know bull when I smell it." "Just shut up, John. Be there at 9. Well, Dr. Perez was not there. There was an anesthesiologist there, however, and before I knew it, I was fast asleep. Lena was sitting on my bed when I recovered. She was grinning at my obvious displeasure. "Are you mad at me, John?" I didn't quite feel like talking, so I just grunted at her. It didn't take long for me to figure it out. I no longer had the eye tick or the hand twitch. I held up my right hand and stared with amazement. It was rock steady. My hand immediately went up to my head and Lena started laughing as I felt around for bandages. There were none. "It's laparoscopic, John. You of all people should have figured that out." I gave her an idiotic stare as if to question her. "Up your nose, you idiot." And she laughed again. Over the next few months, I worked with the surgical department to get recertified. I decided to stay with the radiology department and just fill in if any gallbladder surgeries were required. Everybody was happy with the new arrangement. Lena and I moved in together, and things went very well over the next 2 years. I think she would have liked to get married, but under the circumstances, she didn't want to push it. It was a warm summer afternoon, and I was sitting on the veranda with a bottle of Lancer's Rose. "John, you have a guest." Lena paused for a moment. "I'll be going down to the market for a while." She didn't wait for an answer. "Hello, John. It's been a long time." It had been almost 4 years since I saw my wife. She still looked good, but a little tired around the eyes. "Donna, you are looking well. Can I get you something to drink?" "The wine looks fine." She sat while I fetched a glass. We were silent for several moments. We chatted about the house, the weather, and her flight over. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. "Donna, why are you here? What do you want?" "I just wanted some closure. I want to wrap things up so we can move on. I need a few answers, and I feel that you do too. You refused to talk before. I think I understand why. I just need about 30 minutes or so." "You flew 15 hours to talk for 30 minutes? I had to do it face to face." "Okay, go ahead." "After a year, I figured that you were not coming back. I sold the house and got a small apartment for Shelley and myself. This is a check for half of the house." She placed it on the table between us. "I filed for divorce by abandonment. That took a year, but it is done, and it is clean and clear. You are now free to do as you please." She placed a second document on the table. "Shelley is engaged to be married in a couple of months and asked me to give you this invitation. She was hoping that you would be able to give her away. She completely understands if you decide not to do it. She realizes that her behavior was inappropriate the last few months and apologizes for it." The invitation joined the other papers. "I wanted to thank you for the checks that you send to Shelley's college account every month. It really made a big difference. Under the circumstances, I didn't expect it." That one caught me by surprise. I never sent any checks. I did have an idea where they came from, however. "Of course, I was hoping to find out exactly why you left, but I will understand if you refuse to tell me. If you still decide not to say anything, can I at least answer any questions for you?" She paused and took a sip of the rose. I figured it was my turn to talk now. "Donna, I did not want half of the house money, but if it makes you feel any better, I will gladly accept it. I didn't bother filing for a divorce because I had no intention of getting married again. However, things have changed now, so the divorce is appreciated." "I understand. She is very beautiful." "I do not think it would be appropriate for me to give Shelley away at her wedding. I think that honor should go to her father." As I finished that sentence, Donna dropped her wine glass on the tile patio floor. There was a gasp as her mouth dropped open. I took a few minutes to clean up the glass, and such as she composed herself. She seemed to be struggling to come up with a reply. "John, I don't mean to be a smart-ass bitch or anything like that, and I am also not trying to be evasive or defensive, but who do you suggest I contact? How about one of the 3 guys that you had intimacy with the night that I had my attack?" Luckily, she didn't have a glass in her hand this time. After about 30 seconds of incoherent babbling mixed with sobbing, she finally blurted out, "I think I made a mistake coming here. I was hoping for closure, but not like this. I think I should go." She started to get up, but I insisted on sitting her back down. "No, you don't. You opened this can of worms, now finish what you started. You felt that by coming here open-handed, you were taking the high road. It was intended to make me feel like shit for leaving and deserting my wife and daughter. Sorry, that dog doesn't hunt. Why don't you tell me all about it, including why you had the medical report covered up?" Just then, Lena came back and noticed what was going on. "Oh crap, John. What the hell did you do?" "Nothing. We were just talking about old times and she went to pieces." Lena took Donna inside the house and laid her on the sofa. She got a wet compress and some kind of pills, which she gave her. I stayed out of the way. I was the bad guy. "How the hell did that happen?" "I went to the kitchen and got a super bock. The wine wasn't hacking it. "John, why don't I talk to her? Maybe she won't get so upset. You must have come on pretty heavy. Is there anything specific that you want me to ask her?" "Yeah, a couple of things. Some of them I already know the answers, but I would like to see if she verifies them. The others I just don't know. Ask her the names of the 3 guys she had intimacy with that night. Did she see them again? See if you can find out if there were any other guys and any other times. Just curious. Ask her why she had the medical report of my seizure covered up. Ask her why we didn't have any more kids." "Stop. Too much information. That's a bit of an overload. I'll do the best that I can. Why don't you go out on the patio and relax? Grab a couple more beers." I fell asleep, and 2 hours later, Lena was shaking me awake. "I gave her a sedative. She is in the guest bedroom for the rest of the night. Did anything productive come out of it?" Once I got her started, I couldn't shut her up. The only thing she remembers about the 3 guys is that one of them was named Freddie. He was trying to get her to take some kind of drug, but she remembers that she kept refusing. She did not admit to telling him to drug you. I don't think she will ever admit that. So, how was the intimacy? She didn't say, but from how she described it, it must have been pretty good. It looks like it was a one-off. I don't know why she did it. I couldn't get any hints about any other escapades. She never saw or heard from the guys again. She suspected that one of them was Shelley's father, but she never looked into it any further. She was afraid when Shelley got the DNA test kit at Christmas, but didn't know how to handle it. She assumed that you figured it out, and that is why you left. Wow, good recap. That covers a lot of it. She also asked why you no longer had the eye tic or the twitch. I explained to her that it was an easy fix and should have been done years ago, except the diagnosis had been covered up for some reason. That triggered another sobbing episode, so I just left her alone. She should sleep until morning. It is hard to believe, but I used to love that woman. I always thought that love like that lived forever. But that is not true. I struggled for 15 years that I shouldn't have. All the attention and love that she shared with me over the years was just a way to cover up for her treachery. It wasn't love. John, you sound bitter. Lena, I have to leave for a few days. When Donna wakes up in the morning, can you see to it that she gets to the airport? Tell her that I will not attend Shelley's wedding. Also let her know that the checks that she got came from Shelley's father, not me. Where will you go? I don't know. It will just be for a week or so. You will be here when I get back, right? Of course I will. Promise that you won't drink too much. Call me. And so ends that part of my life. I never did see or hear from Donna or Shelley again. Lena and I did not marry, but we did buy a nice little villa together just outside of Porto. I decided to take up oil painting after watching some Michael James Smith videos. I am actually getting pretty good. The villa did come with a nice little studio. Lena got me a DNA kit for Christmas. That's not funny. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I am on my way home with another of those horrible headaches. The doctors at the VA say they are caused by the metal plate in my head. I doubt their conclusions. That plate has been there for 10 years, and the headaches started about 5 months ago. Just about the same time my wife of 3 years went to work as a receptionist for that law firm in town. Let me give you some background. First, me. I am Bobby Turner. I was a Marine for 4 years back in the 60s. You guessed it. I was hit by a Gook mortar. I'll call them what I damn please. Remember, I am the one with a plate in my head. After a few months in various hospitals, I was discharged and came home to the farm. Let's make this short and sweet. I was on disability. Not really enough to live on, so I went back to school. Now I am a heavy equipment operator for the county. I keep a grader and a backhoe in my barn out back of the house. Usually, on days like today, I am out with the grader smoothing out the sand roads in the county. But today was an office day. That's what we called sitting in a classroom going over all the new federal, state, and county regulations. I sat listening for about 2 hours when I decided I had to lie down. My boss was aware of my medical condition and did not object when I told him I needed to leave. Like I told you before, I do not think these headaches are caused by that plate in my head. There is a disturbance in the force. 6 months ago, my wife decided she wanted to go to work. I objected. Our house and farm were passed down to me when my dad died. With my disability and my job, we had more than enough money, but she insisted, and I caved. She found work at a law office as a receptionist. I warned her about the son of the founder of the firm. I knew him from school. He was tall, handsome, and rich, of course, but he was a real ladies' man. He dated every good-looking girl in school and always bragged about his conquests. We both played sports, and in the locker room, he walked around naked, bragging about his big Johnson and how no girl could resist it. As the song says, rich kids go to college, poor kids go to war. That's exactly what happened. When I came home, he was a lawyer, and I had a plate in my head. Last night, my wife and I had another argument. I want to start a family. She wants to wait. How much longer? She is uncertain. But she keeps looking away when we talk. I know something is wrong, and I think I know what it is. Now let's talk about my wife, Sue. I met her 4 years ago. She had gone to work out of high school as a receptionist at a factory. She had boyfriends and was not a virgin. No problem, neither was I. We dated for over a year before I asked her to marry me. She had grown up in a city 2 counties over and never lived on a farm. But she told me that was a dream of hers. Living out in the country, having a horse, and tending a garden. She wanted 4 kids. Sounds like my perfect woman. We married, and everything was great for the first couple of years. I bought us 2 horses, and we rode a lot. We even started doing overnight trips and camped in the forest. Then she started with the wanting to go to work. I suspected something, but I could not put my finger on anything. I want you to know that I am 6 feet tall and weigh 190. I try to stay in good shape, and I am considered good-looking. Sue is 5 foot 8 inches tall and about 115 pounds. Blonde hair and blue eyes and nice 34B breasts that are very sensitive. We both drive nice cars. Me a Ford truck, actually. Like I said, I feel the disturbance getting stronger as I approach our farm. I see the reason as I turn the corner. That attorney's blue Corvette is parked in front of my house. I cut the engine and coast to a stop. In my glove box is a 1911 Colt .45. I take it out and chamber around. This thing ends today. I go through the side door and ease into the den. I hear them in our bedroom. I start down the hall when I see a letter addressed to me on the coffee table. Quietly, I pick it up and read. Bobby, I want you to know that I did once truly love you, and I am sorry about all this. But it is what it is. I met Paul about 8 months ago while shopping at the mall in Memphis. He took me to lunch and we had a few drinks. All those stories about his Johnson had me intrigued. We ended up at a Ramada Inn. I was hooked. When that job opening came up at his office, he got me hired. We spent a couple of days a week being intimate either in his office or at his house. Those late nights and Sunday afternoon shopping trips were spent with him. We fell in love. Now he has to go to Miami to deal with a client, and he invited me to go with him. When we get back, I will file for divorce and move my things into his house. We will be gone for about a week, so that will give you time to cool down. I know how hot-headed you can be at times. Bobby, I am really sorry to hurt you like this, and I really did love you. Please try to understand. Sue. She is about to find out how hot-headed I really can be and how I will never understand. I sneak down the hall and stand at the bedroom door. Paul is on top of her for all he is worth. I tap the door with the barrel of the .45. They both look up at the same time. Paul jumps up as his is spraying all over everything. Bobby, you scared the hell out of me. Put that gun down and we'll get dressed and leave. He has a smirk on his face. Paul, just shut up and stand there while I talk to my wife. Look, you are not going to shoot anybody. I fired the first round over his head and into the wall. Sue started screaming, "Bobby, please just let us leave. I'll divorce you and I don't want a thing. Just let us go." "I read your letter in the den. This is all about his Big Johnson?" "Pretty much," she said. I look over at Paul and he is grinning. That really annoyed me. His Johnson was hanging down between his legs. I aimed a shot about an inch above it. That's when things got really loud. Paul was screaming and grabbing at his Johnson. It is about 2 inches shorter than it was a couple of minutes ago. When his hand grabbed it must have hurt more because he sure screamed louder and fell to his knees beside the bed. He was bleeding pretty badly. Then he started vomiting. He had eaten a big breakfast. He rolled over on his side, mumbling something about my ancestors. Sue was sitting on the bed with her knees bent up to her chest. She was looking directly at me when she asked, "You read the letter?" "Yes," I replied. "He made me put in that line about his Big Johnson." But it really was the truth, wasn't it? "Yes. He just wanted you to know. He likes bragging about it." "Bobby, please, I need an ambulance," he cried. When he looked up at me, I said, "No, you don't. You need a grave." My next round hit him in his left eye. What brains he had were on the floor behind him. Sue was suddenly quiet. "Bobby, please. I never gave you sloppy seconds or even seconds. The days we did, I came home with a headache or on my period or something. Any excuse I could think of so that you would not find out about us. What's this cheating woman thinking? Maybe that I will forgive her and we'll live happily ever after?" As she smiled, I smiled back at her and said, "Thanks." My next shot hit her in the forehead. I wrapped their bodies in sheets from the bed and carried them out to that Corvette. I put them together as I found them, naked, in the passenger seat. I found his keys in his pants pocket and drove them out behind the barn. It was out of sight in case anybody drove by. I cleaned up the room and opened the windows. I had to use a can of air freshener to get the smell of vomit out of the air. I stuffed all the paper towels and clothes into a garbage bag and threw them on top of them in the car. Next, I went to the barn and started the backhoe. In less than 2 hours, everything was buried and covered up. I figured there was no use saying words over them. The devil did not want to hear them. I went back to the house and called the sheriff's office. I got Sheriff Parker on the phone and explained that I had found a letter that told me my wife was running off with that attorney, Paul. I asked his advice on what to do. "Look, Bobby, call a divorce attorney and get things rolling. When they get back, get them served. It's best to get out in front of things like this." I hung up and called an attorney in the next county. I made an appointment for the next day. I took the letter with me and she made copies. It was in Sue's handwriting, so it was made an exhibit. She would have the papers ready when they returned. I packed everything of Sue's up in plastic garbage bags and set them beside her car in the garage. The next day, I was back grading roads in the county. The force was back to normal. Well, you guessed it. They did not return for a week. In 10 days, I was getting calls from the law office wanting to know if I had heard from my wife. Then about 2 weeks later, the sheriff's office sent a detective out to take a statement. I referred him to my attorney. I showed him all of Sue's crap sitting by her car waiting for her. I never heard from him again. It was about a month later that the feds came by one night after I had gotten off work. They had some interesting questions. "Do you know a Jose Gonzalez?" "No, should I?" I replied. "How about a Manuel Gonzalez?" "Him either. What is this all about?" The client Paul was on the way to see in Miami was Jose, who is Manuel's father. Paul had represented him in a drug trafficking case last year and had committed an error during the trial. He asked a question he did not know the answer to, and it opened a can of worms for his client, Manuel. He was found guilty and sentenced to 50 years in federal prison. Jose wanted Paul to represent his son on an appeal. That should have been a red flag. But Jose wired $100,000 to Paul's firm's account and asked him to come to Miami to discuss the case since he was sick and could not travel. Like an idiot, Paul thinks he is going to get more money for a big appeal, and he decides to take your wife, who he had been having an affair with for almost a year. Paul filled up his Corvette in town. We know this because he used his credit card. We think he then came out here and picked up your wife, and they started out for Miami. We cannot find another gas receipt, so the Colombians must have got to them before they stopped for gas or to eat. That's what we figure anyway. What does this Jose have to say about it? Nothing. He went into a hospital about a week after they disappeared, and he died 6 days later. We never got to question him on the matter. Well, I guess that means I can get rid of all her stuff. I have it in garbage bags in the garage. You are welcome to look through it if you want. That will not be necessary. We would like a copy of that letter she left just for our files. No problem, I replied. I found them a copy of the letter and they left. That was over 30 years ago, and I have not felt a disturbance in the force since the day I buried Sue and Paul under what is now my hog pen. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.